Hi, I'm Thomas Headon, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Thomas, how's it going, man? Congratulations with the new EP, Victoria. You did some new things with this EP. I felt like you kind of dove deeper into your personal life. You gave us more of a vulnerable side. What really kickstarted the idea of like the initial idea of writing this EP in the first place?
I think, thanks, man. Thank you for the compliments. I think I kind of had a bit of a breakdown after my second EP I did. So now my third one, and just kind of wasn't that confident in the music I was putting out. I didn't think it was really reflective of who I was as a person. So I think I was a lot more open and honest with this EP, and a lot of it's based on true stories or just slight adaptations of true stories. And so I think in that sense, it's just come out quite truthfully and naturally. So I think that's kind of where it stemmed from. It was just like wanting to be more open about what was actually happening in my life, I think. Yeah.
As far as like kicking off this EP, like I really loved that you started it with Nobody Has to Know, such a more of an energy driven kind of song.
Thanks,
Um,
man.
what was the idea behind like kind of starting it with the song? Is this like the beginning of the story, like and then we close it off with the most beautiful thing? Like what was that mindset for you during this process?
I think it good. Yeah. I mean, kind of similarly like that. I think I wanted to start it off with like a bang. I mean, Nobody Has to Know was such like I've been playing it live for maybe a year now, like unreleased. And then it came out in September, and that was just like a big go moment, which felt great. Um it was like this song that fans knew. It was this fun, it's just a really fun song. I wanted to play it live with the band and everyone know it and whatnot. So I think starting it off with the bang like that just felt like a natural step to start off this EP cycle instead of like some more like mellow tracks like Victoria. So I think yeah, it was more just like you said, just like starting it off like just going hard as possible and just having so much fun with it. Um, yeah.
Since you were trying new things with this EP, like would you say that you were also trying new things vocally, different vocal ranges, different kinds of techniques that you did throughout the singing of this EP?
Totally, man. I think this is the first time I've ever properly used like falsetto in so many songs. I think Victoria is really high. Strawberry Kisses is super high, and we dropped that down when playing it live because it's just way too high. But yeah, totally. Like there's also so many tracks which are just so like basically like talking as well. Like it's just like kind of shout talking. Like Nobody Has to Know is really easy to sing because it's just like kind of like sits at where my speaking range is. But yeah, good pickup, dude. It is a lot different than what I've done before vocally, especially.
What did you mean exactly by properly use the falsetto?
Well, just like I've never in songs before have I gone like use like the top of my range, and Victoria is very much like Victoria. That was bad. Like that was kind of it hits the head.
So how did you perfect that? Is this something that the producer helped you with, or is this something that you've been working on with the vocal coach?
It's kind of it actually is interesting. I wrote the songs with my range in that sense being really bad, and then I think yeah, I just kind of worked on that with vocal coach, and then when cutting the vocals, I mean, um, thank God with modern technology, we can do it as many times as we want, and it's not like analog tape anymore, in which costs heaps of money. So yeah, it definitely took a lot longer, and on this whole EP, there's been so many different versions of different songs that have just taken so long to perfect. So I think luckily I had like all the time in the world to thankfully do it. I wasn't really in a rush to get something over with. So yeah, just time and perfecting it really was the hardest part.
For me, I feel like my one of my favorite tracks is The Most Beautiful Thing, and that's the closer of this EP.
Thanks, man.
Personally, I love that raw vocal, that raw emotion. Would you say that this was like that first initial take, or did you actually like do various run throughs before you gave us what we're listening to today?
Good pickup. Good pickup, bro. Well done. That's Yeah, that actually was the first take. Yeah, so I think there was two songs on this EP which were the yeah. So two songs. So the most beautiful thing was just the first pass of the vocal, which was originally just meant to be the demo, um, and then that was it. And then Nobody Has to Know was also the demo vocal. Um, so it was cool. That is I think the demo vocal for the most beautiful thing, as you said, just was more emotional and just like it wasn't trying to be perfect when recording it, and so that works best for that song, I think. Yeah.
Would you say that that demo vocal was something that you just did on your own, or was this already something you were doing with the producer in the studio?
No, all the demo vocals I did on my own. So because the whole EP was made basically remotely, because I was in
Yeah.
Australia and I was in London, but when I was in like those places, I was working with people from LA and people in London while I was in Australia, and so I did a lot of the vocals on my own. I think the only song I did in a studio vocals was Victoria. I hated the vocals on it, so I went into the studio and retracked them with the producer. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of it was just doing it purely on my own in like a room like this, like a basically either a hotel room or a bedroom, and just like sitting at my laptop with it. It's jokes.
So I'm curious because when listening to the EP, like I said, you start off with "Nobody Needs to Know," and or "Nobody Has to Know," but in the lyrics, you do mention that you've been single for a couple of days, right? And then towards the end, with the final track, "The Most Beautiful Thing," it just sounds like you have fallen in love with this person. So
Yeah.
would you say that this is basically the beginning and the continuance of this love story, or is it multiple love stories that you're talking about?
I think this is such a wanky answer, sorry, but it's kind of up for interpretation. I think
Okay.
I wrote it about I wrote it about different people. However, um, my manager brought that up to me. And I think you're the second person that's ever brought that up. Is if you listen to the whole EP, you can take it as a one person story, which is I think is unintentionally. I love that. That's really great. So I think if that is, as I said, it's just such like a cliche, like ooh, art is an interpretive answer. But like I think that's great. If that is the way that people are listening to that, then that is by far the best mistake I've ever made. Then, I do really enjoy that continuation because even then coming out of Victoria and the ending of Victoria to the most beautiful thing, I think is such a nice transition, um, as well in that sense. So no, it wasn't intended.
I had multiple versions. I was like, okay, maybe like this is the start of the story, or maybe the most beautiful thing was that person, and then now this is the start of a new story. Like I was
Right?
just trying
Yeah.
to figure it out, but I was like, regardless, like I love all 5 tracks of this EP. Like I
Thanks,
love the
man.
story that you're telling us. During this process, like what would you say, like, or which song would you say was the most challenging to finalize?
I think most. I mean, from like a production and logistical point of view, Strawberry Kisses was a nightmare. Mainly just because, as I said, like that's got the vocal range. Like the takes we did of that song is so many, man, and like got split up into so many different bits. So probably that. But I think Victoria went through so many different producers and so many different versions until I finally just sent it to my roommate who's a producer. His name's Stephen Barnes. he I work with him on a couple songs, and I feel like whenever something I need something done quickly or anything like that, I can just get it right over to him, and he does it exactly the way I want it to. And so there was a couple versions of Victoria for ages, and I sent it right, and then it wasn't working out, and then I sent it to him, and he did what basically is the final version now within like a day, and it was amazing. And as I said, we recut vocals, um, and then yeah, it was kind of finished. That was the last song I think for the EP to have Victoria. Um, yeah, it's cool. It took a while, but we got there in the end.
Did you already know the identity of the EP before the song, or did you kind of figure it out once the song was finalized, or at
There
least
was
the title for it?
Yeah, I think the title for the EP was when that song was finalized. I think the tracks. I think there was an extra two tracks that we debated having on. One of them has will never and like wasn't really is won't see the light of day, and then the other one was a song called Breakfast, which is on the physical version of the EP. And that's fun as well. That's like a hardcore, heavy like track. But I much prefer playing it live. I don't think it would have really fit in the context of the EP as like a body of work. But yeah, that's kind of where it all fits in with each other, I think.
And sonically, I love the different dynamics that you give us with the
Thanks,
music,
man.
with the sounds. What really inspired this? Is this something that you came into the table and like said, this is what I want it to sound like, or is this something that, as you were recording these songs, you kind of discovered new sounds to add, maybe new instrumentation to add to the EP?
I think, good question. I think it was more like I kind of knew. I mean, so it kind of started out with the first song, which Nobody Has to Know was the first song we made off it. And I think I didn't really 100% know what I wanted it to sound like. But then Spencer, who did it, Spencer Stewart, he sent me the version where the current guitar line on it, the was played on bass. And I was like to him, let's just put it on guitar instead. And then like since then, everything just made so much sense, I think. Spencer really helped like make the EP just fully like craft it into the sound that it is now, I think. And so I think it was kind of maybe a process, but then once once Nobody Has to Know was made, it was very clear that that's what I wanted the whole project to sound like. Yeah.
Did that switch from bass to guitar also impact the vocals and the way that you were going to sing the song?
No, because that was the demo vocal. So I put the demo down to an acoustic guitar in the first place. And then we've just the vocal that's on that song is still the demo vocal. I actually never in Nobody Has to Know, it goes nobody has to know, and I put that in as a placeholder because I didn't know what to do there, but it's just stayed now. So whoops, my bad. Anyway.
Good thing technology nowadays, like we can record on an iPhone and it still sounds great, right?
Literally, yeah, genuinely. Yeah, man.
Well, now that the EP's out, you're about to kick off your first ever US North American tour tonight in New York. So what can fans look forward to on this on this tour, and like what are you most excited about from this tour?
Fans can look best night of your life. That's what it is. Best night of your bloody life. No, I think I'm super excited. This is, as you said, it's my first ever US tour. So I think I'm going to absolutely give it I mean, this is such a wanky answer, but I'm going to give it my all. That's kind of a given. I'm so excited to meet everyone and play as hard as possible and just have as much fun, I think, while touring here. And I think that is also from my end as well, just like first ever US tour, first ever US shows, first ever playing to a US crowd. So I think that just like, that alone is going to be so much fun. I think there's this massive dream to be in this position that I'm in, to play in America, to play to American crowds. And I'm so thankful and lucky that I now get to do that.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know it's early on one of your busiest days. So thanks for doing this. Congrats with Victoria EP. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reuniting again soon.
Legend. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, dude.